Guys, picture this each time you take a stroll into a space where she is unable to look away. She thinks about you all the time, wondering why you haven't sent her a text message back, and she experiences a fierce enthusiasm that she can't quite elucidate how high-value men understand to elicit this response, if you believe it's only about your appearance or financial status. I'll remember the point, and I'll reveal to you the mysteries that transcend the obvious. Section 1. The strength of unpredictability. Okay, let's get started. Looking more closely at this, one of the largest reasons why women are valued by males. Their obsession is mastering the art of unpredictable. A lot of men make the error of becoming overly accessible and as well foreseeable. Consider it if you're continually responding to texts in a matter of seconds, appearing whenever she makes a call, or arranging your whole routine around her. In essence, you are conveying a message that she has discovered there is no riddle to solve, and if there is, women are drawn to it because it's thrilling, and the excitement of the contrary to high-value guys. Unknown. Recognize that predictability is deadly. Attraction they keep hidden, whole hand, rather than adhering to the tendencies that the majority of males follow their own timetable, which they don't hurry to, answer all texts or go above and beyond, going above and above to be accessible anytime she's free, since they possess their own goals and priorities that arise throughout life. First, this does not imply that they disregard her. It indicates that they are picky about when and how they interact. Occasionally they may react promptly, and at other times this could take several hours or perhaps a day, prevents her from asking why you're unique, and your activities when a woman is unsure of her supports you or is unable to forecast your next. It sets off a psychological response. She starts to examine each detail, replay talks, and overthink the reason you haven't sent her a text. She begins to crave your attention once you return, not as a result of your gaming, but because you don't live your life around. She respects her because of that. Despite her refusal to acknowledge it, this unpredictability is particularly effective. When you pair it with sincerity, avoid trying to seem enigmatic. For the purpose of it, rather than filling out your living with truly interesting things, whether you're working out or going to the gym, either working on a project or spending time with friends. The busier you are, the more you give your all to your passions. Additionally, it demonstrates that you're a man with depth, for a guy who doesn't just sit around awaiting her next move. For instance, let's say she texts you at 10 o'clock. I'm asking what you're doing rather than responding right away, and offering her all of your weight until the following morning to pay attention to when you reply. Keep it informal, such as I suddenly noticed that your text was coming to an end. How is your evening? This demonstrates some work. You're not merely waiting around. It makes the impression for her text that you lead a life of your own. And when she recognizes that she will be interested and keen to learn more about what's being keeping you occupied. But exercise caution here. Being unpredictable does not imply that you may completely vanish or begin playing. Playing silly games is about finding your equilibrium. Wish to maintain enough consistency so that she is aware of your attraction but remains aloof, sufficient to keep her guessing. She can't stop wondering what you're anticipating and participating in the next time she sees or hears from you. In Section 2, learning how to purposeful separation. Let's now elaborate on this idea of distance, because when utilized appropriately, it's an effective instrument for producing attraction. First, recognize that this has nothing to do with ignoring her or being unavailable at all times. The goal is to establish a feeling of autonomy and liberty in your high-value, dynamic men are aware of it. The presence of a woman in their presence or constant communication, she does not have the opportunity to overlook them or completely enjoy the space that enables her time to think, contemplate, And most importantly, she will crave when you provide her space because it lets her imagination run wild. She starts to think about you more, wild. Frequently, questions what you're doing and why haven't you contacted me? It's throughout these silent times that she starts to inquire about how she feels about you without. She doesn't understand the distance chance to experience that desire or expectation. When you are available all the time, she is too busy to miss you, and that's what keeps her emotions on the high-value males on the surface exploit this to their benefit, that they don't look in every day and they don't organize there. All week long, adjusting to her schedule, they perhaps spend a few days without contacting her and enabling her to first make contact. And once she does, that's when you are aware that she is considering you and I am missing you. But this isn't. It's only about making her miss you, about preserving your identity. When you put your own life first and passions, you organically make room and distance, which is what results in a stronger bond without even attempting. You let her know you're not in a dire situation. For her consideration, which makes her want for even greater deliberate distance, implies managing your own energy as well. Once you get back in touch with her, you bring something fresh and captivating for the table, perhaps a tale from your week, or something fresh accomplishment or pastime you've been. Taking care of this demonstrates to her that while you cherish the time you spend with her, you're also able to improve your personal life. As a separate example, suppose that you and this woman had a fantastic weekend together, rather than messaging right away. Give it a little time the following morning. Allow her to sit with the recollection of the don't instantly fill that out this weekend. Space with light conversation or affirmation when keep it light when you message her at last. For example, they had a terrific time the other day. I hope this week gets off to a wonderful start for you. Is self-assured, informal, and doesn't much investment in being near you. Men of value are aware that space produces attraction when she's allowed the opportunity to. She misses you, and her affections for you grow, and grow more purposeful and intense. Distance has nothing to do with manipulation, which is about keeping a wholesome feeling of being unique, is about making sure that both of you have the time and room to enjoy the times when you do visit together, as opposed to turning it into a consistent each-day routine. This equilibrium is what sustains her. Curious, wondering, and eventually more invested in, you are in Section 3, Impact of Emotions over Physical. Most males go here for the attraction. Incorrect. They believe that physical attraction alone can cause a woman to get fixated. Certainly looks nice when exercising, and she may notice you if you dress nicely, but should you wish for her to become genuinely involved, you must establish an emotional bond with her. Men of great value recognize that women are driven by emotions, and when they tap, this is the end of the game. Consider this. A woman might find you attractive to a man's appearance, but what maintains her, he makes her feel like returning. If you can give her a sense of specialness, recognized and valued in ways that do other males not establish a more profound emotional bond, this does not imply complimenting her profusely. Anyone accomplish it. It only requires being present and mindful during the crucial moments For instance, rather than merely informing her she looks good, pay attention to the little details. Praise the way she chuckles or the manner she discusses a topic she's being enthusiastic about. It demonstrates that you're seeing past the obvious when she senses that you truly get it. Observe her for more than just herself. Looks like she's going to feel something deeper, and that connection is that deeper that produces connection. But here's the catch. You to maintain that relationship with IND. You don't want to get dependent on her. Emotional support system, or an individual who's always accessible when she needs a boost to create such moments of emotion count. But don't go overboard, so she can see that your life is apart from hers, and that your purpose is not to make her always feel pleased when she detects that you're still emotionally accessible. She will pursue that feeling on her own, desiring to feel that high again. She benefits by being with you, for instance. During a conversation, and she talks about something, don't simply nod and agree. Personal. Ask her more deeply why that is important to her, what it means for her, or how it formed her. Her future demonstrates sincere curiosity, and she will experience that emotional bond with you, but don't always do this. Change things up occasionally and continue talking. Light-hearted and enjoyable, leaving her unsure of when she will bond deeply with another you. The art of non-V validation in Section 4. High-value males are aware of that. When applied sparingly, validation turns into a strong instrument. Most men make the error of continuously aiming for a woman's acceptance, whether it's by way of excessive praises that consistently concur with her, or seizing every opportunity to provide her with. Pay attention to the issue with this strategy is that it demonstrates your over-eagerness and that you prioritize her acceptance over your own. Women's self-worth is frequently interpreted as a high-value man's indication of insecurity. They don't have to ask for approval from anybody since they feel safe in their own worth and intention when practicing. You issue a subtle but non-V validation request. Significant indication that you are not other men rather than pursuing her. Approval. You stay unconcerned about keep your cool and remain composed. And don't respond to her efforts to acquire your focus, which generates a feeling of she has an innate curiosity and interest. Starts to question why you're not responding. This mystery, like other guys, is what makes you unique, and the reason she turns into committed to obtaining your approval. The trick is to validate yourself. Uncommon and significant when you do give her, make sure to pay attention in a considerate and sincere praise, ought to feel like they're earned, so you don't have to should never give her praise or acknowledge her respect her efforts, but those instances need to be sufficiently rare that when they do happen, and they are very important. Consider it if you give her a lot of praise each time you see her, they lose their significance. But if you wait and only offer sincere, considerate praise, she will appreciate it when it really counts. A lot more. For instance, suppose you observe that she's obviously geared up for a night out, exerting effort as an alternative to admitting it right away with a generic remark. Take a look at her, while participating in the discussion without bringing up her appearance at a later on. When she doesn't anticipate it, say something along the lines of, "I truly admire how you exude confidence in this way." Indicates that you're not paying attention to her. Glances at her presence alone, but also attitude. That compliment will stick in her memory as it's uncommon and significant. Additionally, engaging in non-validation does not imply being distant or aloof all the time. The time it takes to value your focus, and selectively providing it, you're establishing a setting in which she must strive for your acceptance, which makes her feel committed once she starts to endeavor to obtain your approval of it, establishes a dynamic in which she works to not the other way around, but to impress you. Section 5. Strategic absence and the principle of scarcity states that basic idea in psychology, people cherish what they consider to be uncommon or difficult to acquire. High-value males are aware of that they are being overly accessible, reduces their perceived worth. If you're always present and accessible, there isn't a chance for. The purpose isn't to play, it's to make her miss you. Difficult to obtain, but to start a life where you're actually preoccupied with your own priorities, which inevitably leads to periods of absence that helped her to understand and yearn for your presence more. The goal of strategic absence is to construct thrill and eagerness when you spend time together and make the most of it. Be captivating and leave a lasting impression, moments that make a lasting impact. However, once you've had a fantastic time, return and give her room, please. Fill that void right away with SMS or calls. Enable her to consider the spending time with her and allowing her to. I'm curious as to why she hasn't contacted you. During this time of absence, the emotional desire starts to develop. She begins to relive the events in her mind, considering the things you stated and her feelings when you were around. Additionally, the skill of strategic absence is about using your exchanges rather than establishing another date immediately following the previous one. Allow her to make the first move to get in touch. It's a sign if she makes contact first. She is missing you and thinking of you. By letting her take the initiative occasionally, you might establish a dynamic in which she feels a stake in maintaining the relationship alive. Vanishing is not the goal. It's all about demonstrating that you respect your time and don't be in a hurry. Accessible at all times. For instance, let's claim that you had a great time with her on a Saturday evening, rather of sending her a text. The following morning, a generic had a "Hi, have a nice time last night." Give her a few days to sit with the recollection when you eventually text her on Tuesday. Keep things light and informal. I hope you're having a fantastic start to the week. Begin. This demonstrates that you're not desperate to get her attention and that there are other priorities in your life. Strategy makes use of the strength of excitement when you produce moments of absence, makes her more sensitive. Devoted to the upcoming conversation, she'll begin anticipating your messages. Maybe you're there because it's not assured, and the fact that it is scarce makes it more valuable. Keep in mind that high-value males recognize that space attracts. It provides her with the time and chance to section on missing you and craving your presence. 6. Constructing emotional. One type of exclusivity is emotional exclusivity. Of the most effective methods for establishing a long-term effects on women's minds. We are emotional creatures by nature, therefore if you can provide a feeling of emotional stability and depth that she is unable to discover with someone else with whom she will have a close relationship. You men with high standards are aware that it's not simply by physically being there, it's regarding evoking feelings of connection that seems unique and distinct. Developing emotional exclusivity requires demonstrate to her your capacity for profoundly significant discussions that go outside of the most males discuss surface-level topics. Level subjects like hobbies or high-level jobs. Conversely, value men are able to go further into important subjects like life objectives, aspirations and anxieties. When you reach out to her on this level, begins to believe that she is alone. Who gets to see this aspect of you? She feels selected because of this, and unique. But the secret here is to progressively expose these emotional layers. Avoid jumping into lengthy discussions or present everything at once, rather than letting. She earned these opportunities to interact by doing this, you establish a feeling of she is aware of exclusivity and that the version she sees that none of you are accessible to everyone, which gives her a sense of equality. Additional invested, it's similar to removing the onion's layers. The longer the more time she spends with you, the more she feels she's approaching the center, and that makes her desire more examples. Imagine that you are conversing, and she makes a reference to her instead. It was her early years that molded who she is. Of just concurring or putting up a front, engage her with a level comment by saying, "That's fascinating. I had a comparable encounter, but it's something I don't discuss much more than that." This is an open-ended remark that leaves her curiosity about it grows, captivating and establishes the framework for deeper discussions in the future. She will want to achieve that level. Lack candor on your part, which results in an emotional connection. Okay, men, If you wish to assume command and transform into the sort, women can't help but remember that it's everything about how you hold yourself and how you think you yourself. Now, if you found this video entertaining, make sure to click like and subscribe for additional information on mastering attractiveness and leading a life of great worth. Leave a remark below with one thing. What do you believe makes a man genuinely irresistible? I'd love to know what you think. See you in the following one.